Previously on Bleach. Kubo leaves 3 pages virtually blank. Ichigo has the aim of a jar of peanut butter. Komamura got a new outfit, and Ginjo's now the king of metal. And now, chapter 462. Hooray! I finally have an opening title sequence! It's pretty short, and I put it together in less than half an hour, but hey, what can you do? That's the best I got. Tekking101 here to do Bleach chapter 462. I have a massive headache right now, and all these lights focused on my head are not helping, so let's do this. Okay, so Ginjo appears from the smoke. He's all decked out in his metal armor and shit, which it really kind of looks exactly like Ichigo's Fullbring. I mean, it has the same skeletal appearance. It looks a little more rigid. His belt buckle's different, but it's pretty much the same thing as Ichigo's Fullbring. And Ichigo seems very perplexed by what Toshiro told him last chapter, that he was the first substitute Shinigami. Ichigo's just like, what does that mean? He was the first substitute Shinigami? Not hard to miss. Ukitake even mentioned this when Ichigo got his badge. He said to him, there have been times when substitute Shinigami have been proven useful, and we gave him these badge, and there's laws for these kind of things. Like, he never figured that there was more than one. But actually from this chapter, what we figured out, maybe there's only 2. You know, maybe it's like a Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective, there only being 3. But yeah, so far we only know 2. And Ginjo was the first. Okay, so now I think he's about to elaborate more on the subject, but Byakuyo shows up behind him and says, leave the details for later, we gotta fight this guy right now. Ginjo's like, oh, wow, he got really demonic, didn't he? Is it just me, or is it one of his eyes darkened? Is that like, you know, when Ichigo goes like hollow or something? Because that kind of looks very similar to that. But yeah, he says, yeah, if you don't pay attention to me, you're gonna die right now. And he thanks Ichigo for giving me all his power, or else he would have been dead by now. Which, again, I don't get that. It's like, you absorbed his power, like, 2 chapters before he got his power back. So, did it just take time for you to get your powers back? Because, like I said, you looked pretty freaking scared. You looked like you were about to die a couple times. So, yeah, I think you just got lucky. I think you just got purely lucky with that. So then we get the title page, and oh dear, what is that? No, not that. That! Wow. Holy shit. Alright, 1 minute. Sorry, these international calls tend to take like 30-something digits. Hey, Kubo! Yeah, it's me. Yeah, I'm just trying to review this chapter you just put out just now, and, I gotta tell you, man, I understand, I get the whole, you know, titles not making sense. It's just kind of your thing. I mean, I poke fun at them. They're kind of interesting, like a running gag for me, but you do know what grammar is, right? I mean, I just have to know, because why me sad? That's something like a kindergartner would write. Uh-huh. 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 I have no idea what you're saying. How kind of language was that? I don't know. Yeah, I just had to make fun of the title for this one. This one and another chapter which was really, really painfully bad grammar was the one where Shoroku was fighting Stark, and the title of the chapter was Wolves Ain't How Alone. Let me rephrase that. Wolves ain't how alone. Ain't is not even a word. But whatever. Let's get beyond this, okay? So yeah, Orihime is running over to Ichigo. She remembers him crying, and she's like, I don't like him when he's crying, and she remembers that, I guess Tsukishima somehow made it so he was in place of Orihime's brother, because in all her flashbacks, she remembers Tsukishima and not her brother. So, what? Did Tsukishima just erase her brother completely and replace him? I didn't think he could do that. I thought he could add memories. I didn't think he could subtract anything. But even with all these memories, she's still wondering, why do I feel so much pain when Ichigo's crying? And right here, this made me think of something else. Could Tsukishima possibly make it so all her love for Ichigo, because she loves him, that's pretty much out there, that's been out there for a while, but I'm wondering if Tsukishima removed that from her mind, because if she's going along very compliantly with Tsukishima, you know, she healed his arm, and he's like, oh, thank you so much for complimenting me. It's like, for the last couple of chapters, she didn't act like, you know, Ichigo's the guy she loves, so maybe Tsukishima messed with that, because otherwise I think she would be a little bit reluctant to even help Tsukishima. That's the thing with this, though. It's like, they see Ichigo attacking Tsukishima, and they immediately think that Ichigo has turned evil. Well, maybe not evil, I mean, evil's the wrong word to use, but just think that it's Ichigo's problem. Like, there's something wrong with Ichigo. They don't stop and think like there's any other, you know, weird thing that could happen, because, you know, they have dealt with some pretty weird shit before. You know, this is not the first time that something you can't explain happens, but they immediately think it's Ichigo. They show no tactical, you know, understanding. They don't try to, like, sit down and examine the whole thing. They just, oh, Ichigo's attacking Tsukishima. Ichigo's bad guy, kick his ass. Oh, no, restrain him. Yeah, Chad's going at him 100%. Yeah, restraining him. But Orihime is running to him. She sees Ichigo in the air. He's all confident because he has powers back, and she's just like, oh, thank God, Ichigo stopped crying. Yeah. Like 3 chapters ago, where the hell were you at? That's another thing, like, where are these characters at? Whenever there's like a whole jumble of characters in a frame, and all these occurrences are going on at the same time, or around the same time, these characters just disappeared. What happened to Orihime and Chad? Last time I checked, they were right by Tsukishima, battling Ichigo. Then after Urahara and Rukia showed up, they just like completely disappeared. I mean, did they just go for a coffee break or something? Like, come back and like, oh, there's Ichigo and Rukia and Toshiro. The hell did I miss? I mean, that's just... I just don't get why, like, all these characters, they should be right there. They should be observing all the stuff that's going on, and they don't. Same thing with the Xcution members. They've all just, like, nonchalantly been watching from the mansion ever since Ginjo got his memory back, you know? Just they didn't think to help them when Ginjo was about to get killed. Funny. But, whatever. So they see all this, so Chad and Orihime see all the Shinigami there. Orihime thinks that they're there to stop Ichigo. Chad realizes they're not. They're, you know, on Ichigo's side. And then Tsukishima shows up behind them, which is pretty good because he hasn't been around in, like, 3 chapters. Him, too. But him I understand even less because he is a main protagonist. And he just disappeared for, like, the past 3 chapters. Whatever. He shows up behind him in this really creepy foreground-background shot. And, he starts stating all this other stuff. He's like, are there parts of your past you're unsure of? Remember Orihime, I'm the one that took care of you. Remember Chad, I'm the one that gave you your pendant. So he's the one that, I guess he replaced his abuelo with himself. And Ginjo starts telling him to stop because I guess if you add too much, if you add extra information after you cut the person, I guess that makes them extremely mind-fucked because Orihime and Chad are about level 30 at this point. They're about to pass out, but Urahara and Ishin show up behind them. They knock them out, so that doesn't happen. And Urahara in this panel, he even thanks Tsukishima for loosening them up first so they can knock him out easier. I'm like, yeah, thanks for messing with Ichigo's friends, making his life a living hell. You're welcome. I don't know. But, hey, this is pretty cool because this sets up a possibility for Urahara versus Tsukishima, and that is going to be freaking awesome. Well, we'll find out, but I'll talk about more of that at the end of the chapter. So then all the Xcution members finally start showing up at the battlefield. What's his name? Gariko, yeah. Gariko stops, and he's shocked by Ginjo apparently hoarding all the power for himself. And they said they were going to share it all, except Riruka, because Riruka says she doesn't want Ichigo's power. So that makes me think, you know, Riruka was just, like, grouped into this by everyone else. I don't know if this has anything to do with her thinking, like, her being attracted to Ichigo or anything, but from what it seems, she does not want Ichigo's power. And Ginjo's just like, you guys are so loud. So then he proceeds to cut them all up, and that in turn transfers all the power of Ichigo over to them, and they show up with new outfits and weapons. Is it just me, or did Riruka turn into a bunny? Whatever, we'll find that on next chapter. But, yeah, Jackie gained more, I don't know, motorcycle handles on her outfit. I don't know. Gariko gained a bunch of these little clocks spinning around him. His outfit changed too. It looks more like a clock face. Yukio gains just some gloves and some headphones, and Raruka turned into a freaking rabbit. I don't know, but I think the reason they did that was mainly just because it was painfully, it was like obvious in the past couple chapters that ever since the Shinigami showed up and we have all these Xcution members that they were going to fight. But that would have been freaking pointless because you put any member of the Goatee 13 against an Xcution member, the Xcution member is going to get their freaking ass kicked. So, yeah, now maybe with Ichigo's power, they've like their energies has been like bolstered to a level where they can fight somewhat evenly with a Shinigami. So we'll see that next chapter. I don't know, next chapter. I'm really hoping for the Uehara and Tsukishima fight. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool because, you know, other than the abilities of he can pretty much cut through anything and him implanting memories, we really haven't seen what much Tsukishima can do. And that's another thing about his abilities. He says, Ginjo stated that he could cut through pretty much anything. Even so, whenever he clashes with Ichigo's sword, it always like bounces back. It's like always a normal sword strike. If he could cut through pretty much anything, wouldn't that mean he could pretty much cut through anything, including the sword? But, I don't know. We'll see about that next chapter. Yeah, as for all the power-ups from the Xcution members, I don't know. Once again, we don't even really know what Ginjo's power-up is. He didn't really explain it in this chapter, except for being a little bit faster. So, I don't know. Maybe Yukio. But whatever they are, I'm guessing that whatever restrictions were on their powers before, those were maybe taken away. Like maybe Raruka doesn't have to do the love pass anymore. Maybe Jackie's dirty boots don't have to be dirty anymore. That would kind of defeat the purpose of calling it that name. But whatever. Maybe it just made it more easier to use in combat against the Shinigami. Yeah, we'll see next chapter. Tekking101 signing out.